to seek retribution. Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas, torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides."
I'm really struggling to understand
Nazis coming out of
anything that he's saying. It's kind of insane, in all honesty, that that we're not.
This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things.
I mean, this is crazy, guys. Like, the drugs are not working. They are definitely not working tonight.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that
this has been debunked many a times. He did not call the KKK or the white supremacists very fine people, as he just said. That is, watch the actual video of this, and it's been played ad nauseum. This is a bold-faced lie. This is actually a bold-faced lie, and there's been a lot of them tonight. This is a lie, because he said there were fine people on both sides of the protest, and he said, I'm not talking. He clarified by saying, I'm not talking about the white supremacists or the neo-Nazis.
Why? They know him well.
I get so frustrated with these narratives and how they are so... Even when they're fully debunked, we don't leave them alone. So, I tell you, this is just crazy. I'm going to mute this while they're on a commercial break. Talk about what we've seen so far. This is the first break. So, man, right out of the gate, Biden looked very weak. Just very weak. And I honestly don't know if he's got an hour and a half in him. This is very, very interesting. And weak on the issues. I thought Trump did a really good job on the border, where he was talking about the border and talking about how insane it is. And nobody believes that we have a more secure border than we did 4 years ago. Nobody. And by the statistics of Border Patrol, like, it was down to maybe 100,000 people, under 100,000 people a month. It's hundreds of thousands of people. Or no, I take that back. It was down to like tens of thousands of people. It is literally hundreds of thousands. It's 10 times the amount that it was in 2020, in 2019. We had a very secure border. We were building a wall, and now it is just open season. Laken Riley, this young 12-year-old girl that was raped and killed the other day by an illegal criminal, a criminal in his country, coming across the border and killing our young children. We didn't hear about these stories. I see these stories every single day. It is just nuts to me that we are allowing these insane thugs to just roam our country, because a lot of these guys are coming over are criminals. They are letting people out of jail to come across the border. That's not even mentioning the drug runners, the fentanyl crisis. I mean, that's I don't even think we've talked about the drug crisis. We have more people dying from fentanyl overdoses. Where are those drugs coming from? They're coming from Mexico. They're coming across the border. We've had hundreds of Chinese illegal immigrants come across the border. A CIA targeter, the one that tracked down the Benghazi attackers from 2011, actually said that we have hundreds of terrorists and then also young military-age males that aren't on terror watch lists, but they are from the countries of origin that terrorism comes from. And they don't even know about these guys because they've never been a part of a terrorist cell. They've never been a part of a terrorist organization coming across the border. They are... Guys, we don't live in a secure country. And we're going to have another 9/11 if we're not careful. He said, not a single terrorist except for the one that killed 3. No, that's not true. And they're just lying in wait. What happened before 9/11? We have such a broken immigration system that I really don't know how we come back from what we are. We've let millions across the border in the last 3 years. And that's just the ones that they're willing to report on. It's far more than that. All right, let me unmute this and we'll listen to a little bit more of this insanity. That's a lie. Oh, my stream stopped. I actually honestly thought that Biden just stopped talking. He's done that a couple times tonight. His inflation is hurting them badly. This is why we're seeing record numbers of, well, Biden actually has some of the worst polling in the black community of any Democrat since like the 1960s. I mean, he's hemorrhaging black votes, especially black men. He's hemorrhaging that vote. And I don't think that they can come back from this because the black community is starting to sour on the fact that the Democrats are not for them. Yep. Trump's actually doing really good focusing on Biden's record, which is exactly what he needs to do. And I think he actually handled a lot of the salvos early on very well. He actually is admitting that there was no inflation at the time, and yet they still want to say they want to blame him for the inflation. Now, I'm going to say this. The amount of money that was spent during COVID was insane, and we should have handled it a different way. I did not agree necessarily with the way that we handled COVID. However, there are ways to fight against this, but what did we do? Just blew out the spending even more.
But will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name.
That's actually 100% true.
And now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically
Also said racial jungle and many other.
where I funded them and
The dude was best friends with Robert Byrd, who was the
opportunity zones with
Grand Cyclops of the KKK. So, I mean, I don't think he's really a friend of the black man.
South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and all that. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a
And China is 4 times the amount of carbon footprint that the United States is, if you even believe in that stuff. But if we wanted to go by that, this is the this is crazy, guys.
But everything that he
Trump's
said-
doing really well tonight, though.
For example, I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage, I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence.
I don't think he's actually had a coherent sentence tonight.
How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its pollution under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements.
And those accords will cost us so much money. You think inflation's bad now? Let these things fully kick in. And we'll beg for the level of inflation that we have now.
Any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay. And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think?
I do love that he's not using any of his time. And this, I feel like this silent mic thing has backfired on them because it's actually exposing Biden as a mumbling, bumbling, and not being able to coherently push a thought. And it makes Trump actually look more presidential because he's subdued, he's sitting back, and he's just kind of waiting to be able to drop and focus back on what Biden's done. He's doing actually a really good job, and I don't know if they thought this night was going to go this way.
And by the way, American public has
Again, he can't finish his sentence. He's like in the middle. Go over here, go over there. It's insane, guys.
40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is
That's actually not true. Most health insurance is provided by employers. They take into consideration pre-existing conditions. I know a lot of people with pre-existing conditions that get health care from their employer, no problem. This has also been debunked.
He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. And everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security, they're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid, they're putting them in our hospitals, they're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
It's true. There's a lot of frustration out there.
Not being taken care of. I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he said he acknowledged.
Talk to a veteran about the VA. That's all I've got to say.
That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world.
I think he's talking about
By the way,
2019
15 Nobel
again.
laureates he talked about being phony. Those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession, and inflation is going to increase.
You got to be careful about that stuff, because remember when they said that there were 30-something intelligence agents that said the Hunter Biden laptop was had all the markers of Russian disinformation? When they use stuff like, 15 of the top economists, whose? And how much did you pay them for what they said? Because now we know that the Hunter laptop was actually real. So, goodness, guys.
Child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history.
100%.
He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody?
That was a disgrace.
That's allowed us to have the worst border.
And the men that fought for 20 years in that country, it dishonored them too.
Many from prisons, many from mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little...
Definitely in the running for it. I still would say Woodrow Wilson's probably one of the worst, but he's definitely in the running.
Like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance.
He's right about that.
We probably won't have
I don't even know if we have a chance with this, but man.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're...
Now he's shifting to try and sound patriotic.
Screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea...
They're screwing around with us right now.
I wasn't joking.
The Russia invasion of Ukraine, the Hamas attack on Israel, China doesn't give a crap what we're doing. I mean, we are not respected. We're not feared.
In American history, one through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care. He did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to hold to have
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country.
That's true.
The worst
Back in
president
2017.
by far,
Yep.
and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about. He's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference.
By the way, do you know how we generated income for the government prior to the passing of the federal income tax?
About how he
Tariffs.
not raised. He's somehow
So it's not out of the realm of historical significance that we've done that before, and it was actually made us a very successful and very powerful nation. It was only after we passed the income tax that we lost control of the states to basically stand up to the federal government.
Made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We were at the
President
highest.
Biden.
We lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you,
Now we're getting into something, and this is completely tied to the border, so I hope Trump ties this to the border because it's going to be, it's a very, very big deal.
The efforts that both of you have made, more than
I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of Philadelphia and all this other stuff, people just drugged out on the streets.
What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough, and it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of
that's a key right there.
Drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together.
You know how you keep stuff from coming across the border?
more fentanyl
Close
machines,
it.
more be able to detect drugs.
Then you don't have to use
more-
machines
more
to
numbers of
scan
agents,
things.
More numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office.
Or
I
we
said,
give away the most notorious weapons and arms dealer, illegal arms dealer in history,
out a long time ago, but Putin's
for
probably
a
asking for
mediocre
billions of
WNBA player who
because this guy pays it
probably
every
is a
time.
dude.
We had two cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns
He looks 96 right now.
about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America. Over
15 million return to work jobs. This was not him creating jobs. This was coming back from COVID, guys.
Brought an awful lot of people.
The lies that they tell are just insane.
Chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have
Americans from all over the world?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he cuddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, who he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter. but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says.
Biden just stepped in it. That was actually hilarious because he didn't say that. That's really funny.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf.
Oh, that was a nice move by Trump. That's really funny because he baited him into like.
He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap, 8. But I had, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
But let's
you know,
not
you
act
have it
like
around
children. President Trump, we're going to
21.
This is awesome. He just caused him to glitch out
that voters have
about
to
golf. That's
Will you pledge
hilarious.
tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again.
That was actually a really good line. I wish he was a good president because I wouldn't be here. That's actually a really good line.
His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him.
When you look at history, world wars start because of weakness, not because of strength.
Drive us into World War
Neville
III.
Chamberlain caused World War II to start because he was weak.
Let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to.
That's actually true.
Not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with... He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people.
It's true. However much they want to tell you, Ukraine is not winning that war.
They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level, because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Pause or mute this. So, a couple of points. The foreign policy, I think honestly, Trump probably in my lifetime was one of the strongest presidents on foreign policy, and really had turned things around. China was on its heels, and a lot of the countries around the world. I mean, we had Iran. Iran is basically on the warpath again, and Trump silenced Iran with one bomb on Qasem Soleimani. And nobody believed that he was willing to do that. And I think really you need a president that is willing to do what is necessary in those moments. And it shows strength. And I said this earlier, but wars don't start because of weakness. Wars start or because of strength. Wars actually start because of weakness. When you look at the lead up to World War II, Neville Chamberlain goes over and negotiates with Hitler, gives them land, gives them things to hopefully appease, and within a year they're in a war, World War II. Weakness is what leads to wars, and I don't think there's anybody that could actually say that Biden looks strong tonight. He doesn't. He looks very weak. He can hardly talk. Voice is very weak. He looks lost most of the time. And I think this format was actually a really bad decision on CNN's part. I think to allow Trump to stand there and actually look more measured and in control than you would if you had the hot mic, because Trump's always trying to get a jab in. Let's just be honest. He's a showman. And so he's going to play to a crowd. So they take the crowd away. They take away the ability of him to talk and get his little quips in. But it actually makes it look worse because, as I said at the beginning, make Biden talk the entire time. Make him talk and articulate policy. The guy can't articulate a sentence, much less policy. It's really, really crazy. And Trump has this propensity to talk in kind of grandiose terms and not really specific terms. But with us now, and this was one of my biggest issues with him when he first ran for president, was that he didn't have a record, and I didn't know how he was going to govern. I honestly thought, man, this could be a bad deal because we really don't know. This guy used to be Democrat. He used to be much more liberal. And then a few years later, you have the record. And he did a lot of really good things for the economy, did a lot of really good things for our troops, and set some things straight. I wish, in all honesty, he would have drained the swamp a little bit more, because as we've seen, the swamp it's kind of like Empire Strikes Back, the swamp strikes back, and we have a deep state that is more powerful and strong than ever. And really, I hope, if Trump wins this November, that he takes an absolute wrecking ball to the deep state and destroys it. So, but it looks like they're back. We're going to go back, and I'll give some more commentary. Get this volume up quick. There we go. Actually, Trump did that. Did it in 2020, early 2020. Just stumbling all over himself. Okay. Apologies, I didn't change my camera angle there, but interesting debate. A few takeaways that I have. I was taking some notes earlier. Biden looked really weak today. Really weak. He was not in command of the issues. He was very much lost at times, stuttering and stammering, not able to complete sentences. Or a couple of times where I thought he was going to just completely freeze like he did on the stage with Obama a couple of weeks ago. And this is sad because I don't want our president. I honestly, the statement that Trump made in the towards the end there, where he said, "I wish you were a great president." I do too, because I believe in America. I love America. I think that God put us on this country to do great, on this continent to do great things. The problem is we have people that have the desire to destroy what was built, who want to make this country pay for whatever they think we've done that was wrong, or to destroy it so that they can rebuild a socialist or communist utopia. And I don't believe that Biden is in control. He's not making decisions. He can't complete a sentence, so I don't think that he's making policy. But I think that the people that are behind him are some of the most dangerous people that we've had in power in history. This is the third term of Obama. The biggest difference is you don't have the charisma of Obama as the figurehead. It's the same people. It's just you're getting all of the bad policies with none of the charisma. And that's why it looks a lot worse. And what we're seeing is a harvest of bad decisions and bad policies that's been going on really from both sides of the aisle, but specifically the Democrats. I say that the Republicans are really just like the Democrats light anymore. They don't change anything and we don't wield power. However, I hope that this really shows the contrast of somebody who is clearly in mental and physical decline. I don't think that somebody who is 80-something years old needs to be president. 82, he'll be 86 when he gets out of office. This is crazy. I know Trump's not that much younger than him, but Trump is clearly in better health. I thought Trump did a really good job of staying measured, staying in command of the topics. I wish that Trump was a little bit more articulate in certain areas, if I'm being honest. But I thought overall, he won this debate pretty handily. And that was simply because Biden looked weak. The weakness on camera looks very weak. And I just don't think that he had command of anything tonight. I think that the decision to do the cutoff mics and the no crowd actually helped Trump. And I think that he will possibly get a boost out of this debate, because I don't think that any of the attacks they landed against him actually stuck. And he clearly had a target of making sure that he always was emphasizing how bad the policies of Biden have been for the country. So we'll see what happens. Trump, I'll just be honest, Trump wasn't my first choice. I was more of a DeSantis guy. But I will say this, if this is the choice that I have, I think the choice is clear. We do know that Trump has a record, and Trump has a very good record as president. And I think that record should be enough to put some people over the top. I think that people are seeing what is actually going on and not what the media is telling them, and more people are waking up every day. I hope that continues. And as we continue down, I think we're something like 18 or 19 weeks away from the election. So it's going to be here before we know it. So my advice to everybody is, first off, let's pray that there is a shift in our country. Pray for, I think we're at the point where it's really revival or bust for us, and we need that. And we need good, strong people to stand up and say, yeah, you know, I don't necessarily agree with Trump on everything, but I will definitely be voting for him because I see how bad it is right now. The country is on the verge of taking a really bad leap off a cliff, because I do believe that if Biden is reelected, the next 4 years are going to be horrible. They won't have to worry about reelection. They won't have to worry about any of this other stuff. They will just simply do whatever they want. And if you think it's crazy now, it'll be even crazier then. So overall, I thought Trump did a very good job. I think Biden looked weak, and he was not there for most of the debate. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the media actually does to spin this. We'll see. The headline on CNN says, sources Democrats saying we have a problem after Biden's performance tonight. Boy, that's interesting. Let's actually listen to a little bit of CNN. Let me switch this over again and see what they're actually saying.
I think for a lot of Democrats, that's very disappointing. I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate. And, talking to the Biden campaign, they say, their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display, that doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also think you saw him continue to get sort of more and more animated across the course of the debate and, give some really problematic answers about January 6th, some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not
problematic in the eyes of who?
Stretch, but look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
So here's a big key for you guys. I'm going to fill you guys in on something. Trump won the debate. If CNN is saying that this was not a good debate for Biden, it was a disaster for Biden.
Versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight.
So this is very telling, guys, that CNN is already not. They're not even trying to spin this. They're basically saying, "Boy, this was a bad night." So that means that Trump won handily tonight. If CNN is saying that, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next upcoming weeks.
Not what we need to
mute this down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the upcoming weeks with the Biden campaign. Who knows? They may try and throw another Hail Mary and put him back on the debate stage. But I don't think they want to take that chance, because clearly tonight was a gamble. They actually saw that his approval rating is in the mid-30s. It's horrible. And because of that, they had to throw this Hail Mary. But I don't think the Hail Mary just got blocked by a wideout, by a cornerback. I don't think that they got the result that they wanted. And I think it's going to be really interesting the next couple of weeks to see how this plays out. And I mean, there are some people that are speculating that this was kind of a trial run, and if they saw something really bad, maybe before the convention they try and replace him. Have a health issue or something like that. Maybe they're going to bring in Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom, even though Gavin Newsom's political career was actually ended by Ron DeSantis last year. And so we will see what happens. But I think the Democrats are really nervous right now because this debate was so bad, and you actually got to see. Here's what happened. We have these narratives, and remember, Karine Jean-Pierre said cheap fakes. She was talking about cheap fakes just last week. We actually covered this on the podcast. She's talking about cheap fakes last week, that all these videos of Biden, stumbling around and not being able to complete sentences and getting lost and having to be led around. are just cheap fakes. It's just a vast right-wing conspiracy, to coin the phrase from Hillary Clinton. But it wasn't, because tonight actually proved out that that's actually the truth. And please understand, as I said before, I don't want this to be the truth. I want America to have good, strong leadership, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. But we don't have strong leadership. We are being led by weakness and wokeness. And those two things combined, just a recipe for disaster. Our country is headed in the wrong direction, and we need to turn it around. So, man, this is really interesting. So I think we're going to see what happens in the upcoming weeks. And I want to hear what you guys actually thought about the debate tonight. What you guys thought about Trump's performance and Biden's performance. I think Joe Biden's rubbing off on me. I can't complete words right now. Yeah, I think, Stephanie, I think that you're right. I don't think he was really strong on the opioid addiction, fixing that. But really, honestly, he didn't really go into details, but he did tie it to the border, and that's really the reality of it. These drugs are coming over through the border, and when you open up the border more, guess what? You get more drugs, because more drugs means more money to these people. And so we have more opioid addiction and overdoses than we've ever had in this country, by over double when you actually look at the statistics from just 5 years ago. And we are seeing it balloon out and snowball to the point where we can't continue on like this, because children are being exposed to these drugs. And fentanyl is a deadly drug, and it's just all over our streets. Yeah, I saw a video the other day of Philadelphia, in the drug areas in Philadelphia. People literally walking around like zombies, bent over or just like leaned up against houses and light posts. Philadelphia, that's the city of liberty, where the Declaration of Independence was one of our greatest cities, just covered in drug addicted people. This is all the fault of an open border. And the problem is, it's going to cost a lot more money to get us out of this mess. And that's a sad thing, because we're going to have to pour resources into stopping all of this. And we do need to deport the people that have come over here illegally. I'm sure the media is going to point to, oh, this family. But the reality is if you come across the border, you break the law. And if you're willing to break one law, you're willing to break more than one law. And so we are getting... And plus, that's not really the people that I'm seeing coming over the border. There may be a percentage of that for sure. But what I'm seeing coming over the border is military-aged males. That typically means that they're not necessarily up to any good, because they're not here to better their families. And in a lot of cases, they're here to do crime. We're seeing it every day. We're seeing people murdered and raped and robbed every day. There's a news article every day. So I think that really this election is, we've heard this term so many times, the most important election of our lifetime. I really think that this is the most important election of our life, because I think this is maybe our last Hail Mary pass before the clock runs out. And it may already be running out, but we can still fight to see if we can save something of this country. There's my sister commenting. Hey, Becca. Love you, sis. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I said this earlier. I think Jill Biden may be one of the worst people in the world. I wouldn't want to be married to somebody who was willing to do that to me when I was clearly towards the end of my life and in cognitive decline. Man, to think that she loves the idea of having power so much that she's willing to parade her weakened and, senile husband out in front of on a stage in front of the world to see. That's sad. And you can see, like, I'll use the example of the D-Day ceremony that they had on the 70th anniversary of D-Day. He had to leave early and left the French president to actually honor our troops. And there's speculation that maybe he had an oopsie in his pants, but that's neither here nor there. That can, we make jokes about that stuff, but it's truly actually sad. Truly actually sad. And nobody in his inner circle is willing to step in and say, guys, we've got to stop this. Because the clock's actually running out for the Democrats too, because there are things that you have to have in order before you can replace a candidate. So if that's their play, they've got to get on it very, very quickly. And in some cases, the clock's actually already run out because the ballot, the producing of ballots actually starts very early on in an election year. And states have to close certain things out earlier on in the year. So that's why you have the primaries and who's going to be on the ballot, and they have to create those ballots. I think the run out time is sometime in the summer, maybe like June or July, and we're already there. So this is going to happen very, very quickly. I don't know. But just seeing CNN's reaction to this is very telling as to they're probably in full-on panic mode. And it's a lot tonight. Sad to see. You have a president legally elected, but president who is clearly weak, clearly not in control of faculties. Cannot finish a sentence, and it's sad. Hopefully, we can have people show up to the polls, and honestly, I almost think it's an act of mercy to vote the guy out so that he can go and actually enjoy his twilight years, because he clearly doesn't know where he's at. And I just really hope that that's the case. Yeah. CNN is freaking out right now. It's funny. I'm got the TV on and I'm seeing the chyrons come up, and it's Democrats really concerned with Biden's performance tonight. That is something. Typically, the spin is always like, oh, look how in command he was, and they focus on all the bad. If they're focusing on Biden, that actually means that he didn't do well. Focusing on Trump, that means he didn't do well, or in their eyes, he didn't. But this whole plan to set up the debate in a perfect scenario to favor Biden actually completely backfired. And I thought that might actually happen. It clearly did tonight. And so we will see. But I hope you guys enjoyed our live stream. Sorry we had that cut out. I finally figured out that YouTube was not blocking us on the live stream. I was trying to stream through Max, but it did not allow me to do that. But I figured out that YouTube, so about halfway through, I came back in. Hope you guys enjoyed this commentary and this reaction to the debate. Stay tuned with us. If you guys are not following us, the Righteous Savages, and some of you guys are from Survival Dispatch News, you guys aren't following us yet, follow us, because we've got more of this kind of thing coming. We'll probably be reacting to some other events that are coming up, and so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you guys will come along for the ride. Check out our website and buy some of our merch or coffee. It's a way that you guys can show that you support us. We actually have Patreon. coming up very, very soon in the next month or two. And also, we also are a world-class tactical training company. We do a lot of tactical training, and you guys are interested in firearms training from the most beginner level to the most advanced operator level. We supply all of it. We hope you guys will come to us for all your training needs. Dave couldn't be here tonight, so I was flying solo. He's been commenting on the feed throughout tonight, but we'll both be back in here for our next episodes, and we're on the verge of Independence Day, so let's not forget the idea of America, and that America was supposed to be a land of opportunity, a land where we could have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness equally. And that idea is not dead. It is wounded. There's no doubt. But I think that we can hopefully, if we bond together and we take this journey together, I think that we can turn this thing around. Remember, God first, and then your family, and then your country. So lead well and follow God. He wants us to do the right thing. And I hope that you guys will come along on the journey with us. But that's all the time we have for tonight. And before we go, I'm going to leave you with the Righteous Savages slogan. Remember to take Jesus with you everywhere you go and act like you believe. We'll see you guys very, very soon.